Around the association, game number 2 of the Eastern Conference playoffs between the top seed in the conference, the best team in the NBA, the Boston Celtics, and the shorthanded Miami Heat. But regardless of where the Heat stack up in a playoff run, there is going to be that Heat culture and that Miami magic. The Heat pull off a stunner last night inside TD Garden to upset the Celtics and even this opening round series at a game all. 111-101. Miami hits a franchise record 23 three-pointers in a playoff game to win outright as a 14.5-point underdog in Boston, handing the Celtics, DRS, only their 5th home loss in 43 regular season and postseason games inside TD Garden this season.
Outrageous. If you wanted to ask me about one basketball game that I was sure one team was going to win yesterday or for the past couple of days, it would have been the Boston Celtics. The question for us in this, format was, will we even get to a game number 5?
Yeah.
Because it looks like the Boston Celtics were going to steamroll the Miami Heat. But Ben, how many times do we talk about this, particularly in college basketball? When you're talking about a big underdog, what's the ultimate equalizer always? It's the three-point line. If you're saying you're an underdog and the only way we can win is heave a lot of three-point shots up and hope they go in, well, that happened for the Miami Heat last night, Ben. You take a look. 54% as a team, and from volume, 23 of 43. There's nothing the other team can do when you're filling up the bucket from the three-point line. Impressive win for the Miami Heat, down at the break, crushed in game number 1, pull away 1-1, and the only thought process for me on the Miami Heat is, man, I wish Jimmy Butler could heal up quick and get back for this series, because I didn't expect it to be a series at all. And also, Ben, we're not saying we're going to 6 or 7 games, but my goodness, I was so impressed with the Miami Heat last night. But isn't that what we're supposed to expect from Eric Spoelstra and the crew? Great win by the Heat.
Yeah. Now the Celtics still remain a minus 2,500 favorite to win this series outright. But we give the Heat their flowers as long as they will have it. And because Jimmy Butler did not play, did not mean he still did not take to social media to talk a little bit of smack. Of course, Jaylen Brown and the Seeds were down 3-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals against this Miami team a year ago. And Jaylen Brown famously or infamously said, "Don't let us get one." Jimmy Butler did the same last night on social media. Tyler Hero, a team-high 24 points for Miami. He hit 6 triples. Caleb Martin, welcome back to the postseason. He hit 5 threes and added in 21 points. And that shorthanded Heat team, even without Jimmy Butler, all 5 starters score in double figures. They win outright as a 14.5-point favorite, a total that crept down to 205 at a hook just prior to tip inside TD Garden last night does go over. So now we go to the other game with a doubleheader in the NBA postseason last night. The Oklahoma City Thunder hosting the New Orleans Pelicans in game number 2. OKC looked a little bit shaky to start off their playoff run as the top seed in the Western Conference, but they did storm back for a game 1 victory, 94-92 over New Orleans over the weekend. Last night, they didn't look young. They didn't look scared. They were ready to go, and they won big at home in Oklahoma City. The Thunder roll. The Pels last night, 124-92. Oklahoma City DRS easily covering as a 7.5-point home favorite.
Yeah, impressive performance by OKC. I liked game number 1 with their victory. It was like, okay, we're the number 1 seed. We know we are. Let's hold on. Let's get a victory. And now we can proceed and act like the number 1 seed, which they did yesterday, easily dispatching of the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, so many times we talk about, like, hey, did you get a good bench performance? Forget about that. Let's see what the superstars did and the starters did here for the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
Holmgren, 26. Williams, 21. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 33. Giddey, 13. Dort, 15. And look at the plus-minus on those starters. They handled their business, Ben, right from the jump, taking a 35-22 lead at the end of the first quarter and never looked back. If you look at OKC, the question marks coming from the regular season for me, Ben, where how can they hold up in the playoffs because it's a different animal. Now you're seeing the confidence of OKC. This is what's supposed to happen with the number 1 seed.
And listen, as a young home team, as even the 1 seed in the playoffs, it's the first time for this core in true playoff games. But when you look at the core, and SGA scores 33, and Chet Holmgren pours in 26, and Jalen Williams scores 21 as well, combining for 80 of the 124 OKC scored as a whole. That is a very bright and optimistic future for Oklahoma City, already showing off here in the postseason. Now we go to the ice. In the National Hockey League, the Stanley Cup postseason rolls on. 3 games last night in the NHL. The Bruins get a victory. The reigning Stanley Cup champs, the Golden Knights, get a win. And the Kings pull off the upset in Edmonton over the Oilers in a big matchup as well out in the Western Conference playoffs.
Yeah, you could probably say maybe the stunner would be the Kings there, right? And as we always know, the Maple Leafs struggles in round number 1 of the playoffs. But you got to hand it to the Golden Knights on the road against one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NHL, the Dallas Stars, going up 3-1 there in that game yesterday for a 2-0 series lead before you even get back to play in Vegas. Big night on the ice.
Yeah, huge, because Dallas was that home ice favorite last night. Not for the Vegas Golden Knights, who win outright as an underdog. The Kings take the Oilers to OT in Edmonton and win 5-4. And the Bruins now a 2-1 series lead as well in the opening round of the postseason. The Bees, who had the best regular season record a year ago, only to get bounced by the Florida Panthers in the opening round of the Stanley Cup postseason, looking to exact some revenge. So the NFL draft in Detroit tonight, but it was a big day in Detroit yesterday for the Lions. They extend their stars, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the wide receiver, and Penei Sewell gets a 4-year, $120 million extension, the highest paid offensive tackle in the National Football League.
Pay your superstars. If they're worth money to you, they're worth money to the team itself. Love what Detroit does because everybody now happy in that locker room, Ben, which isn't the case around the league.
Not always the case, especially in Cincinnati. And the natural comparisons were made between Penei Sewell, who was drafted just behind Jamar Chase a few years ago. Jamar Chase's contract extension, a different conversation. T. Higgins, under the franchise tag, demanded a trade. Trey Hendrickson, the outstanding edge rusher for Cincy, also demanding a trade yesterday, Donnie.
Yeah, let's start with Trey Hendrickson quickly here. 17.5 sacks last year, 3 straight Pro Bowls. He's outlived his contract. Pay that man. But if you know being a Bengals fan for a long time, the owner goes, you got a contract. You better live up to it. That's not the way it works. Cincinnati Bengals fans, I'm sorry. You just can't have nice things.
Yeah, that is not looking optimistic for Cincinnati this offseason. We'll see what happens around the draft tonight. Back to the NBA quickly. Naz Reed of the Minnesota Timberwolves pulls off a small upset and wins 6th man of the year. Entering last weekend, Sacramento's Malik Monk was a minus 280 favorite. And the PGA Tour rewarding their guys for staying on the tour and not jumping ship to live. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Justin Thomas, among those golfers on the PGA Tour receiving some money for their loyalty.